Alrighty. Hello, wonderful people. Sorry about the delay, couple technical difficulties, but we are here now. Give everyone just a second to join us. Excited to get fubbed up with you beautiful people today. I'm gonna walk through just some of the best practices using our contact cards. It's pretty much where we live and breathe inside a follow-up boss when we're communicating with different contacts and leads. So just really excited to go through some of the basics and some of the best practices with everybody, and making sure that we're using everything to our full advantage here. So without further ado, looks like people are joining still, but that's all right. We'll get the ball rolling. All righty. So thanks again for joining me today for getting fubbed up with Bridget, you guys. Again, we're going to go through all the different ways of the contact card, best practices, when to be doing things, why to be doing things, and just making sure that everybody knows how great of a resource this can be for us. So here we've got our beautiful Fred Flintstone. He's pulled up as one of our contact cards. So a couple of things right off the bat that are really beneficial to what you can see inside of here. First and foremost, these phone numbers, we have them blurred out since this is recorded for security purposes, even though Fred's not real. But you can already see right here that this is red and it'd be striked out if we were in a solid view mode. So that lets you know right off of the bat that this is an invalid phone number that you're not going to be able to see or be able to communicate with that person. You can see over to the side, it also says mobile. And if it's detected as a landline, then it would say landline and it wouldn't give you any texting opportunities or anything like that. So pretty good resources right off the bat as soon as you come to the page to be able to see that of the type of communication that you could do with somebody. And then their email. So you may notice sometimes that the email may be like an orangey yellow color, and that's letting you know that that email has either bounced or that person has unsubscribed from things from you. So they won't be getting any of your marketing materials. They won't be getting any action plans or anything like that because of that yellowed out email. And then obviously we have address. We always want to be using their actual physical mailing address. Things where you're actually going to be sending them something. So not properties that we're looking at, not properties that we're interested in or have under contract or anything like that. Then one of the other really cool things that I want everybody to know, because it's super, super valuable, is these little boxes over here. They're called widgets. You may hear me reference that term again. And what's pretty neat about it is if you hover over into the top left-hand corner, you'll see these dots appear. You can drag these and drop them to whatever order makes sense for you as you're going through your system. And this saves only for you as your user profile. It does sticky for every single contact and client. So you can't have details up here for Fred Flintstone and then go over to the next one. And for Mickey Mouse, you've got the details at the bottom. So it'll be like that for every single person, but it's only exclusive to you. So it's not going to change if you're the owner account. It's not going to change the order for any of your agents or anything like that. But it's really valuable because you can put things up. So if you're like, I'm not really going to be a relationships person, I'm going to keep everything separated. They're going to have their own contact cards. Don't even need to see this or have it on my radar. You can just take this bad boy and drag it down to the bottom. So now as you're going through and you're prospecting and you're communicating and reaching out to people, it's not one of the first things that you're seeing when you're coming over here to the page. Details, this is always going to be one of the most important widgets, I'd say. This is anything and everything about where your person is at in the process with you. So stages, stages, stages. Obviously, we want to have really nice streamlined stages. If you have a bunch of duplicates or anything like that, it can get confusing for agents. It can not have automations run the way that they should be running. And it could just kind of, not make the agent be using the system the way that they should because things are confusing. So definitely recommend any owners, team leads, ops people, take some time to go through your stages, really make sure that they make sense. and just let the agents know how valuable it is to be making sure that people are staged the way that they need to be. So you can see here, we've got some Zillow stages and we've got some other stages on here. This is an office hours dummy account that we planned. So, but for you guys, you definitely want to have streamlined one or the other. And this is really the driver for everything inside the system. This is really kind of like your skeleton, the backbone of how things are going to run inside a follow-up boss based off of where these folks are at in the process with you. So having them written out, defined, everything like that for your agents to be able to utilize, making sure that they're keeping them accurate, because obviously if somebody's stuck inside of a nurture stage, but they really are actually closer to being more of a hot type person, like we see that I just did that, it put it into this pond. We don't want that to happen if it doesn't need to happen. So if people are staging properly, then things aren't going to happen that shouldn't be happening. So having somebody stage that's hot, that's going to let us know when we should be following up with somebody, the cadence of follow up. It's going to help prevent these people from falling through the cracks. And then making sure things are sourced properly, especially if we have a lot of different lead gen, internet lead gen, stuff like that. Making sure that we know where these people are coming from and who they are to us. Agent assignment. So obviously we just saw the automation get this person into a pond. Click down on it. You can reassign to other agents, other ponds, or you can claim things from ponds, get that over back to yourself. The price points. You can't do ranges or anything like that within a price field. You can only do a solid number. A lot of different tech stacks you may have, like if you've got a Real Scout or Zillow or Ylopo, anything like that, sometimes it'll autofill this price into you based off of the search activity. Sometimes it's an average depending on what it is, and sometimes it's just the price of the last home that they looked at. So want to be mindful, maybe not take this number too seriously, a little bit with a grain of salt, unless you actually put it in there yourself. The best average that you're going to see for people is through the activity at a glance over here on the right hand side. So this is going to be a true median value. This is the average of what people are actually looking at across the board. And tags. Tags are your best friend for knowing things about people. So the stages are where these people are at in the sales process with you. Your tags are going to be the descriptors about those people. So are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Do they have a bad phone number? Did they close with you in 2023 and maybe they're back as a repeat customer? All this stuff really, really valuable to be sure that you're having the right conversations with people. One thing about tags too that I just want to say until my face turns blue is always, always, always search for a tag before creating a new tag. Again, this is where different automations in the system can be a make or break situation. If you are trying to tag somebody as a buyer and you have a million different types of buyer, if you have buyers, if you have hashtag buyer, anything like that can cause things to break inside of the system. So really want to make sure, I'd say really every couple months, because agents have the ability to go in and be able to create their own tags. You can't prevent that from happening. So the best way is just to really drill into everybody's heads. Hey, make sure that we're searching tags before we're going in and creating new tags. Every couple months I'd go and I would do an audit within your tags, just make sure you guys don't have any repeats, combine things down if you need to. The more often that you're kind of keeping eyes on this, the less out of hand things can get. So using those tags as those descriptors. So now we know, all right, this person's pretty close to becoming a client with us. They're a buyer. This is probably a zip code that they've been looking in. All stuff there to know. I see a couple questions coming in. Is there a way to identify duplicate tags to clean up? And also, did you create a quick cleanup for removing tags and reassigning them yet? So there's no super simple, easy way to do it. If you go to admin up here at the top. And then over here, and you can only do this as far as like, I would only recommend anybody on admin, ops, or owners doing this, but this is where you can kind of come and get a bird's eye view of what your different tags are. So really the only way would be to monitor and see which ones are the same. I would recommend doing like a Command F or a Control F, depending if you're using a Mac or a PC, and maybe just like typing in buyer, and it'll pull up everything that is being registered as a buyer. And so you can kind of see there where maybe duplicates may be. And then you can also see how many people right here are using that tag. So if you're condensing and you're cleaning them up and you have, you know, that hashtag buyer or something like that with folks in it, if you click, it'll generate all of those people up for you. And I would just do one of these mass actions here, add the tag that you want it to be. So just that standard buyer, no hashtag, make sure that they still have that tag. And then when you come in, you go back to your tags from the admin screen and you just hit that delete button and it'll delete that for you. You can also edit if you needed to. Maybe you did want to change this to hashtag buyer or something like that. You do have that ability too. But as far as a tried and true way of seeing duplicates in the system, the simplest would just be to kind of do that search from the web page. That should answer both of those. All right. So let's get back to Fred here. Now let's take it down to background. Background information can be your best friend. This is any high-level information that you've obtained about that person, any really valuable things that you don't want to forget. We always want to encourage using notes, and especially for day-to-days and updates on what's going on with that person. If you're going to show them homes, if you know, they mentioned something about a home, anything like that. The thing about the notes is you can see here, it works kind of, you know, like a social media feed. So the more information that you have going on in here, stuff's going to continue to get pushed down, especially as you're having conversations and logging calls, text messages, emails. Those really valuable notes are going to continue to get pushed down. And there's some things that we don't want to get lost. So that's where we use background, because it's stickied over here out on the onto the side. It's always going to be here for you. So anything, you know, like if they do have a price range, that's probably pretty valuable for you to know. If they have kids and pets and you guys aren't using custom fields for that, maybe if they're hard of hearing, so it's better to send them a text message than it would be to make a phone call out to them. Anything that's going to help you have super successful conversations with people every time you're trying to reach out to them. Ooh, one quick thing too. Always, always, always be mindful of your check marks. If you don't click the green check mark, it's not going to save. You're going to move on to the next thing. You're going to come back to Fred Flintstone and you're going to be like, what the heck? I just put all this valuable information in his background. Where did it go? You forgot to hit your green check mark. Sounds silly, but I mean, even I do it all the time and I live and breathe inside a follow-up boss. So just be mindful. I see a question popping in. How did you generate that note that says you have 24 hours to reach out to this lead or they will be reassigned? Love that. So that's actually just a simple automation. There's tons of different things that you can do as far as keeping agents accountable inside of the system with little things like notes and stuff like that. So if you go to your automations, you could just do when the stage is changed to a hot up in admin. I'll just show you. So you could just say, you know, if our stage is changed to, let's go attempted contact, you can add a note and you can notify the assigned agent. If you're on a Teams platform level, you can have that go to a specific like admin team or something like that if you wanted them to get notified outside of just that agent. So a couple little fun things that you could do there. We'll probably do a more in-depth webinar, get FUB'd up on some automations here in the near future. So I would stay tuned for that. Alrighty. So let's take it over to our custom fields. Custom fields are incredible because they're exactly what they say. They're custom. So you guys can go in here, create a field for whatever makes sense. Like I mentioned, if you wanted to have pets names and kids names, but even more than that, details about these people, about what they're looking for, their pre-approval, if they've been qualified yet, what their status is there. If you, we see people with ISAs use custom fields at a super high level all the time for tracking and reporting and being able to see which ISAs are doing what, and having a lot of background data on that kind of information. Obviously, birthdays is a good one. A lot of options here with custom fields. You can have it be either a text field, a number field. You can have a specific date like birthdays and closing dates, as well as a drop-down option like we see here with the pre-approved. The cool thing about the different custom fields as well is that, as with so many different things inside of Follow Up Boss, it's completely searchable criteria. So when you're on your main people screen and you're going through and you're trying to see, you know, maybe everybody who's going through that pre-approval process who is just still, you know, talking to a lender. So you can pre-approved as the custom field down there, talking to a lender. And we see we've got Will Gray over here who's in that process. So it really helps you guys to be able to streamline and search out different criteria about people if you're keeping your custom fields up to date and accurate. Got another question here. Does all users see what is added in background, including the lender if we assign to them? Yes, they do. So anything on the contact page, if there's access to it, is going to be shown to anybody who has access. So if you have a lender in here, they'll be able to see that background information. If you're an admin or owner, obviously you'll be able to see it. If you have other agents that you're working on things with, so if you have different collaborators, whoever has access to this page can see all of the information on this page. After custom fields, we've got social profile. Be wary about social profiles. It does generate information automatically based off of email addresses. So I wouldn't say that it's always completely accurate. Sometimes it's accurate, but there is that situation where you can't edit any of the social profile information. It's just generated automatically. So like I've come in here before and I've put my email in something and it said that I was like a 54-year-old male from Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm not. So I would take social profile information with a little bit of a grain of salt. And then relationships, I did kind of breeze past this when I was moving it down here to begin with, but relationships can be really great for spouses, or if you've got, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, different, anything like that, anybody who might be working on a deal together that you kind of want to keep in one place. You could add their phone number, email address, if they have a different mailing address. One thing I will say, being mindful with relationships, is either have people as a relationship or have them separated as a completely separate contact. I would advise against having somebody in a relationship field and as their separate contact. We've seen a lot of things get messy with that as far as communication. If you're having text message conversations, sometimes if it's between you and Wilma, it could pop up into Fred's profile. You're going to search Wilma, you're wondering why it's not there. So it can cross a little bit of wires if you are doing both. So I would really just stick to doing one or the other. Another note about relationships is going to be for third-party mailing systems like your MailChimps or Happy Grasshopper, anything like that. If you're wanting the relationship person to be receiving your newsletters and anything, they won't. Only the main contact is going to receive that information. So if you really want to make sure everybody's getting those newsletters and that kind of content, then I would recommend keeping your relationships as separate contacts. We've seen people create a custom field for relationships and just copy each relationship's URLs into who that relationship is. So we'll just do this as an example. When you save it like that, it creates a hyperlink. So if this were Wilma's follow-up boss contact card, we'd be able to click it and it would populate her profile up. So that's a little bit of a workaround to be able to kind of have relationships together, but also as their separate contacts. Let me check my questions here. I'm a mortgage broker and partners with my wife on her real estate business and manage follow-up boss by Lopo and in FUB as an admin. I notice when I'm logged in, I don't see the birthdays on the calendar if they're assigned to her. If I was added as a collaborator or on all contacts, would I then see all her stuff on my calendar? Only for birthdays. That's a great question. As far as like appointments and stuff like that, you're only going to see them if you are actually a part of that appointment. But if you go to your calendar settings as an admin, over here in the right-hand side, there's a drop down. You should be able to go into your wife's calendar, and then you would be able to see what birthdays she has that are assigned for her. So you wouldn't be able to view it as yourself, but with that admin access, you would be able to go in and look at other team members. Another question. Will there be a recording sent to the participants? Yes, Connie, we will definitely make sure that this gets out to everybody. It'll be on YouTube with the whole YouTube playlist of all the different Getting Fubbed Ups as well. All right, we're looking good on our left-hand side here. Delete a person. Don't delete people unless you absolutely have to. Same actually with trash. So staging, trash is one of those stages that you can't delete from the system. Always be super mindful putting people into trash. I would always recommend putting somebody into nurture, or maybe in some sort of, if you have a fish pond type stage for people to go into the pond as a fallback. The thing about trash is once you trash somebody, you are no longer going to be receiving any sort of notifications or information about that person. They get hidden in the back end of the system. So you can see here we put Fred into trash. Let's go back to our all people here. Clear our filters and refresh for good measure. So now when we go in and search for Fred, you'll see he's not even generating as somebody that we can use as the search function. You can go down here and say one person in trash matches your searches. But again, this is just kind of proof that these guys get hidden in the back end of the system. So any new inquiries or any sort of hand raising that they may have, you guys aren't going to get notified unless something's clearly a solicitation or spam. If they have a bad invalid phone number and a bad email address, so there's no way that we're going to be able to actually get in touch with them or a hold of them. Or, the unfortunate reality, you guys, is that some people are nasty trash people. And if they're cussing you out and they're being super inappropriate, chances are we don't want to work with anybody like that. We don't want anybody on our team working with anyone like that. So that would probably be a pretty good use case for trashing. All right. Now we've got our center communication station. And another quick question here. Are birthdays and anniversaries a search criteria? They sure are, as with any of those other custom fields. If you go to your all people, you can all the way down at the bottom of our filters, that's where our custom fields are going to live. So you can see here we've got birthday. we can search that out. You could say is, you know, however many days away it is that you're looking for that. Couple other questions popping in. If we make separate contacts for a married couple, does this affect the end results once those are closed? Meaning it will show 1 million in production if we closed a 500K. It won't, because the thing about with the deals is you can have multiple people on them. So we will get a little bit more into deals details in a second. But as you see here inside of the deals, you can add different team members. So if you were collaborating with somebody on here, you'd be able to give them access to this deal. And you could add other people from the system in here. So let's see, I know that Charlie Kelly's in here. So creating this and having them both assigned to this deal is then going to put both deals on both of their different separate cards. So you won't have to recreate double deals for anybody. All right. And then we use trash for any agent who leaves the team and the lead was theirs to begin with. Yep. Our agent agreement says we do not solicit them for 2 years. Is there a way to stage these trash and then resurrect them after 2 years in automation? I don't believe so. I don't think that there's any automation to be able to pull somebody from trash. That's something I would have to play around with and see if we could create that. But that is a pretty interesting question. So short answer is maybe, but I don't know without trying to play around and manipulate something in the system because nobody's ever asked me that before. All right. So our communication station is what we like to call this center area here. At the top, this is obviously where we can create notes, send emails, send out text messages, and be logging calls manually if we need to do that. So creating notes, like I mentioned, versus background, really great for updates, things you need to stay in the know about, things that you want time stamped. So you could see here, it leaves a date and time. If we go down to some previous stuff that's been entered in, it'll timestamp it. You can hover over it. You can see exactly when that came in. So it's really valuable to know and stay up to date on when things are happening. It's also really great for communicating within the system together. So if you do have a lender on here and you need to make sure that they know something about Fred, or if you're working with another agent, you guys can actually hit the @ symbol and you can communicate within the system about these people. So you see here, Bridget's going to be notified. We ever get anything like that. So then it's going to notify Bridget that she has a new note, and she'll be able to click right into it and come directly to Fred's page, see what Lee had to say to her. She can come in and edit and respond either through here, or she can create a new note at mentioning him. And then Follow Up Boss did just release this new little feature here where you could just pop in a little emoji, let them know that you're all good. We use these notes communicating within the system all the time. It's a lot easier, especially if you're, working with a bunch of different agents, or if you're working with an agent on multiple different deals, to have all of that right here. You don't have to go searching through your personal messages with them. You don't have to remember a phone call that you had with them about Fred Flintstone. It's all right here. Sending emails. So you've got obviously the use of templates, which is going to be huge. So you guys could just pop some different things in if you need to. This is our contact information, yada, yada, yada. What I also love about doing it within side of Follow Up Boss instead of within your own email is you get some of that background information on if things are bouncing, like how it'll turn the email a yellow color. It'll also create a little pill notification button, I guess might be the right term, right over here by when it was sent, letting you know, hey, this bounced or unsubscribed. But what's even better is it lets you know if people are actually clicking and opening your emails. So because of doing it within Follow Up Boss, it pixels and it tracks that cookies, I guess is probably the right term, cookies this email. So it's letting you know, okay, did Fred open up this email that I sent to him? Did he click on any of the links that I sent over to him? It's a really good definer for maybe whether you want to continue nurturing somebody and get engagement from them, if they're actually looking at your emails, if they're actually clicking your and opening your emails, or any links that you're sending to them, then you're probably going to want to nurture them a little bit longer before, say, putting them into the pond and letting somebody else go and prospect them. What are the two green icons in the bottom right of the create note section? Oh, that is my Grammarly so that I spell things correctly and use commas where they need to and don't look like a little dum-dum. So yeah, that's just something that I have on my computer. Good question though. Good eye. And then also one thing I want to mention about using the email in here is being able to schedule things in advance. So you can come in here and schedule anything. This is really great for maybe a holiday weekend or something like that coming up. If you want to send out happy, what do we just have? President's Day, happy President's Day. If you wanted to send out people happy President's Day email in advance, you can choose specific date and times. If you have their birthday in there, it'll actually auto generate so that you can just go ahead and click for it to send out on their birthday, which is really neat. So it'll show you up here, hey, this is scheduled to go out this and then. You can click on it. You can cancel that send if you want to. It's going to just make sure that you want to do that. But you do have that capability and you can do it as far in advance as you want. So pretty neat feature there. And then text messages. So again, we've got our template so that we're not recreating the wheel every single time we want to type something to someone. One other thing that I really love is this new V card feature, new-ish V card feature. You could just pop that in. So it shows right here. And then when you send it out, it gets sent to them like this. It's a clickable link on their end. And I know if you have an iPhone for sure, it just kind of populates all of the information in there for you. If you have a headshot in here with your V card, then it'll populate that as your contact information as well. All they have to do at that point is just click create new contact. It's going to save all of that information for you instead of just saying, here's my number, make sure you save it. It's letting them do it pretty much essentially for you. And then also you can schedule text messages in advance. This is also a relatively new feature, pretty cool. You only have 24 hours in advance, so it's not like the email where you have a lot more time. You only have 24 hours, but it is still really an awesome feature. Maybe it's, 11:30 at night and you're having a great mind session, you're having a glass of wine, maybe two, you're like, this is something awesome I need to send out to Fred. And then you realize it's 11:30 at night. Maybe I don't need to be texting clients at that hour. You can go ahead and send that to go out the next morning so that you look a little bit more like a normal person, and not sending, tipsy messages in the night. But maybe you wake up in the morning, you're like, that's not as cool of an idea as I thought it was. You will have the opportunity to cancel that. And again, it's going to ask and make sure that that's what you want to do. Oh, where'd we go? Yep, cancel it. And now, no harm, no foul. We don't have to worry about that if this would work. And of course, it's not wanting to right now. It's okay. It's not actually going to go to anybody anyway, but you will be able to cancel it, I promise. And then manually logging a call. So if you guys are using the dialer system, especially, totally encourage you guys to be. If you aren't, it's an absolute game changer. But if for whatever reason you're still using your personal phone number, or maybe it's a past client or somebody from your sphere of influence, you do have the option to come in and manually log some of these calls too. You can add any call notes that you want and add it. If it's from the dialer, it's just going to log this call for you automatically. You're not even going to have to worry about coming in and logging it. It also records it, and it tells you how long that conversation was. So did you talk for 30 seconds or did you talk for 15 minutes? And then you can come in and make some notes about what you talked about. That's also going to keep you up to speed. Cool little fun fact that not a lot of people realize, and why it is so important to be keeping some notes on your guys' calls as well, is in the search up here, you click it, looks like we can only be searching contacts, right? Well, if you are having certain keywords or things that you're putting inside of your guys' normal notes or your call notes, so if we say backyard here, because I know that we just said that right here, you can see as I'm starting to type that, yes, we do have our people here, but we can also search notes, guys, and we can search call notes. So right here, it's registering that backyard, be able to click it. It'll bring us right here and it'll highlight. It does go away, but it'll highlight and be like, hey, this is where you had this conversation. And then we get down, look at all this beautiful data and information and communication that we're building and creating with Fred, but maybe we really just need to see the emails that we had with him. You can filter through your different communications with people. So we can filter through and just see our emails. We can filter through and just see our texts. If you're like, oh, this was a really great important text, you can star that text. And you can do this for anything. You can star any of these different communications. So it'll create this golden barrier. It doesn't pin it to the top or anything like that, but it is going to have this surrounded by the content. And again, for your filters, you've got a starred section. So you can come and see all of your different starred items. So everything from emails to text threads, phone calls, your notes, even different activities. So if they're having different searches, saving different properties, right down to our marketing emails. So any sort of action plan, drip campaign email. And this shows you actually right here, this is that pill I was talking about. So this shows you right now that this email bounced to Fred, and that's information that you wouldn't have gotten if you would have just sent this through your email provider. All right, making our way over, guys. So now we're on our right-hand side. So as with our left-hand details and stuff like that, over here, our widgets are also customizable. So we can grab the dots up here. We can move these around. I, for one, always like my activity at the top so I can see what people are doing as soon as I come to their page. Everything down to any sort of different widgets. There's a couple of different ones that you may have in here as well. I know AM Cards has a widget integration, Bar Agency, interface, Osiris. There's a bunch of stuff, so you guys can move these around to what makes sense for you as well. Oh, I see something in the Q&A. Would it be best practice if you sent the V card at the first time chatting from the work number if you use your cell and that one? Let me read that again. Would it be best practice if you sent the V card at the first time chatting from the work number if you use your cell and that one? I kind of, I'm trying to work this out in my head. Would it be best practice if you sent the V card at the first time chatting? Yeah, I mean, you should send the V card immediately. Yes. Even if you are using your cell phone, I would definitely recommend that you're using your follow-up boss phone number. Bill just said when they reach out via FUB, it's a different number than your cell. Yeah, they're different phone numbers. So if you have the V card information going out, you want that to be your follow-up boss number. Oh, okay. Diane, I think, is clarifying here that the V card has your personal cell in it, thinking it need to change that. Yes, I would absolutely be having your follow-up boss phone number as that V card information for people. It's so convenient, guys, having these different phone numbers. Like I said, everything is going to live right here in the contact card. So instead of just thinking about what's the last conversation that I had with Fred, all you have to do is come into FUB, search for Fred, and you can see all of the history and all of the data of your guys' communications. Alrighty, activity. This is going to be if you have follow-up boss pixel on your website or anything like that, Zillow, Ylopo, Real Scout, whole bunch of different ways that you guys can get some activity feeds going on inside of your accounts. But it's really nice because it shows you what people are doing. So if it's attached to your website, what different websites they're going to, what different properties they're searching. It'll show you how many times they searched at a property. If they're favoriting properties, it'll be a list right down here of all of the different things that they've done because it's pixeled and it's cookied them. So it's relating all of that information right here into their contact card. Appointments. Appointments are awesome. They sync right with your Gmail or your Microsoft calendars. So any appointments that you're creating in here are going to reflect on that calendar as well. It's super, super efficient. It's going to send an invitation out. You can send this invitation email and text reminder out. So the morning of the appointment, it'll shoot over that information to them so that they have it. Adding the title, always want to be super clear about what the appointment is for, what kind of appointment you're going to be having. So we'll say, exactly that. So that's their property. Your date and time, come in here. If it's an all-day event for whatever reason, you can have that option as well. Adding the location. So be mindful with locations, guys. Only add a physical address if you're actually meeting them at that physical address. The way that the invite reads to the recipient is going to say, hey, Fred, you have an appointment with Bridget for a listing appointment with Fred about 123 Main Street at 123 Main Street. And if Fred is not expecting you to show up at his house, it's going to send off some alarms for him. He's going to be a little bit concerned about why you're showing up when you made him think that you guys were only going to be having a phone call. If it's a Zoom, you can add the Zoom link in here. It does create a hyperlink for them. And if it is an actual physical address, maybe if you're going to do some showings or something like that for the day, if you have the address in there, it will create a Google Maps link for them too, based off of the invitation. So really nice for them to be able to just kind of click in, get the address to the location y'all are going to. Adding any additional guests. So this is kind of like what we were saying earlier with the calendar. If you're added to a guest for an appointment, then it'll reflect in both. Types and outcomes. So obviously we've got this one as a listing appointment. And then using outcomes, guys, this is awesome for you guys to be able to know, especially if you have different lead gens, if you're putting your money in different leads and you want to see what ones are actually successful, or maybe if you need to change up where you guys are getting your leads from because you're getting a whole bunch of no-shows or a whole bunch of different, rescheduleds or anything like that. Whole bunch of information that you can gain from this, so that you know where you're putting your money is where you need to be putting your money. Obviously, we don't want to continue paying for leads from a source where we're consistently getting no-shows or bad outcomes from. Then down here, this little body, if you want to add a quick note to them, anything that you guys put on this create appointment sheet is going to reflect and be seen by the recipient. So I've seen a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot on this one. I would not come in here and say, oh, I've got this meeting with Fred Flintstone, even though He's a total creepy little freak, don't want to do it. No, we don't need Fred to know that we think that about him. So just be mindful, anything that's in here, they will be able to see and read. And then right here, if you've got previous appointments that have already happened, all of your different appointments are going to show here. There'll be a hyperlink down here so you can see all the different ones that you've had before. And appointments, how do I access to show what happened after the appointment? So you actually would be able to just click on the appointment itself. It'll let you come in and edit it. And you could just come and drop down listing 1 and then resave that appointment. So now you can see here also that that was a successful appointment. And this little G also lets you know that this has been synced with your Google Calendar. So that's saying, yep, there it is, synced with Google. So that's going to reflect on your Google Calendar now. Any action plans? So again, with staging and tags, probably some good fun automations we got going on in here. So if you do need to manually add a plan, you can do it right here with the plus sign. You can search, you could just come poke around and get people started on new plans. You can see here that this one got paused, so things can get paused manually. There's a lot of settings sometimes for action plans too, that if the recipient responds, then it'll pause that plan automatically for you. If you did need to go in and resume them on the plan, you can easily do that. It'll pick up wherever it left off. So if you're 5 emails deep on a plan, it's going to pick back up on that 6th one. Another cool feature, if you click on the plan itself, it'll show you everything that you need to know. So for instance, this plan was started via an automation. So you can view the plan as a whole. It shows you right here, it failed to deliver due to a bounce. So that's why it was paused, because of the trashing. And then we resumed it too. And then you can also see what's up next to come from that plan. So you can really see all the history of the plan, how it started, why it stopped, just kind of what's gone on with that plan. And then you can always go in and manually pause things if necessary as well. And then view completed. So if there's been a whole bunch of different plans, then you can come in and you can see the different ones that they've run on. I'm reading our questions. How can my agent see what is in each action plan quickly? So that's if they click on it here, and then if they hit view plan, that'll show them all of the different contents of what's going to be headed out to their recipient. So long as you definitely want to make sure that you have these shared. So if you're creating the different email templates and stuff like that per plan, you're going to want to make sure so that they can be able to view the content of them. Let's see, we'll go with this one right here, this check mark, share this template with my team. So definitely want to make sure that you've got that checked off so that they're able to see all of the different content. Check the chat again. If there is one step in the plan that I do not want to send, can I delete just that step, or do I have to create a whole new plan? If there's a step in the plan, you can't, like if it's already gone out or something like that, obviously we can't take out anything that's already run. But if there is something in the plan, when you look into it individually as an agent, you can't. It would have to be whoever created the plan, admin access, and it would be global. It would be for anybody using that plan in the system. So you can't just delete certain things just for yourself. But if you're admin, owner, ops, anything like that, you're creating plans and you guys are like, all right, this is a silly step in the plan, we don't want it in there any longer. If you come in, this is where you'll be able to see, hey, here's what's going out and when. And if you decide, we don't really care for stale leads template number 2, you can go ahead and you can delete that. And it just shifts everything up in time. So now on the 7th day, instead of that 2nd template going out, it's going to be the 3rd. and follow the same cadence that you had set up. All right, making our way down. So now we've got tasks. Tasks, be wary of tasks, guys. If you create too many tasks and have too many different general tasks for things that's like, oh, follow up with Fred. Okay, you're going to have a million of those. You're going to end up not looking at your tasks. We really always recommend using tasks for specific date and times. If you call Fred and he says, hey, I'm a little bit busy right now, but if you give me a call Friday at 5 p.m., I'll have more time to be able to discuss this with you. That would definitely be a great case for a task. Always be super specific about the task and what it's for. So if it is, hey, task, ask me to call him Friday at 5. Be super specific with it, and like I said, just be mindful not to create too many silly little tasks, because they're going to get overdue, they're going to get overrun, and you're not going to end up paying any attention to your tasks. That's really for general type follow-ups and stuff like that, where having people staged properly is going to be really to your benefit, because that's how you can set up your smart lists on our main people screen for, hey, if somebody is in a hot stage, I want to make sure that I'm reaching out to them every 3 days. That almost becomes your task list in its own. Interface, that's a outsourced widget, so we won't worry about that. Just want to go with the main ones that are in Follow Up Boss. Any files, so any contracts or anything like that, you can even take a whole Google Drive, and we've seen people link that right here into their files, so super convenient. Deals, we did touch a little bit on deals. Again, this is something that we're going to want to be specific about, so maybe having their address. Right here, you could drop down for if they're a buyer or seller and where they're at with you. So maybe if we're pending, go ahead and get that price in there. If you have a projected closed date. Commission, this is going to be total commission, because you could see right over here is where we can get a little bit more split with it. You could go monetary value, or you can go by percentage. So we'll just go with a 3. And then a breakdown. So the agent split is obviously going to be whatever the agent is taking away from the deal, and then the team split is going to be whatever you guessed it, team is taking away from the split. And then adding people like we mentioned earlier. So you can go ahead and you can add other people onto this deal instead of having to recreate 2 deals. If you're collaborating with Bridget on this will be on her pipeline for her deals as well. Any descriptors and notes that you wanted to make about it. And then there's a couple of different custom fields. They work the same way as the custom fields on the main contact card over here to the left. So you could do a drop down, you could do a text box, you could do dates. So any other really valuable information that you want to be making sure that you have. Then we've got our deals. If you click on the deal itself, it'll allow you to edit the deal if that date changes or any updates that you needed to make there. And then if you click on buyers down here, it'll take you to your pipeline. So this is where you get the bird's eye view of it and be able to see the deal right here. And it's kind of cool when you guys are in this view too. These are drag and drop. So you can click in on this and you can pop them into closed if you need to. Let's go back into Fred. And this is another automation. We got the stage changed automatically to close. So a couple cool things you could do there. Adding collaborators, you can add as many as you'd like. And that is a wrap on our contact card. I see another question here. Let me check that. If there's a task for a certain time, can you set an appointment just to remind me and not the client? So any of the appointments that you set in here, if the guest is attached to it, they're going to get a notification. You can take them off and create some sort of, follow-up call with a date and time there. But it doesn't appear in your appointments here because it doesn't know that it's attached to Fred. So while it will be in your calendar, it's not going to show up on his actual profile. But you can, in tasks, if it is a specific date and time, you can put that information in here too. And you can also set it to set you a reminder that you needed to do that. Alrighty, guys. That's a wrap on this stuff for y'all, but definitely willing to stick out for any other last minute questions or anything like that that I can assist you with in the next 2 minutes that we have together. Again, there's just so much about this system that you can do and so many really efficient ways to be organized and to stay on top of things so that you always know what's happening with your contacts at all times. I don't see any questions coming in. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join me today. I really love talking about this stuff. We do trainings for people. This is like my favorite thing to do because there's so much to it and there's so many unknowns. And really at the end of the day, if people are in here and actually using the system, you guys are going to find out that there's even so much more than what we scraped the surface off today. This is a tool. It's not a burden. Make sure you guys know that. All of your agents know that. Get in here, use it, live, breathe, Follow Up Boss. If it didn't happen in Follow Up Boss, then it didn't happen. That's kind of our mantra over here at Amplified Solutions. So alrighty, guys, thank you so much for your time today, and I'll see y'all next week, or no, not so soon. See you guys next month to get fubbed up again with me. Take care.